the record.
My name is Gloria Donahue. I live in Port Norris.
Okay.
So I had a very similar concern, and I just wanted to reiterate for anyone that wasn't here at the last meeting, your acoustical specialist stood there and told us there were about 65 reports, noise reports, which, by the way, were not taken at the appropriate time. He also admitted to that. He said there are about 65 noise reports, and he'd read maybe 45 of them. Where is he tonight?
What's the question?
I'm just letting everyone know that that's where we stand with your sound reports. They haven't even all been looked
They're
at.
not our sound reports. What
All right, the third-party acoustical specialist
No.
that Data One has contracted.
No,
Then what do you have to say about that?
they were sound reports that were generated by the county health department, which we were able to review.
But
They
you
were-
didn't review them. Your acoustical specialist stood there and said he didn't even look at all of them.
He reviewed 40 to 45 of them that did not result in violations.
He didn't read them all.
Correct.
Correct, thank you.
Yes, the other 20 that also did not result in
He also said
violations were
something
not
that-
read. That's correct.
He also said something I found very condescending. He said, sound is a hard thing to visualize, which I don't think is true. I think that if you read all the reports from the health department, thank you for the update, there would probably be a pretty simple way to present that. I also heard from the Bloom representative that the fuel cells were comparable to a hair dryer. But that's one hair dryer and how many fuel cells? I just wanted everyone to know that. And also, you have a really great answer for everything. I'm from South Jersey. I'm fourth generation in South Jersey. One grandfather worked at a glass factory. A truant officer came. He was a kid. They hit him in a barrel. Luckily, things changed. We're not exploiting child labor anymore, but that's my South Jersey clout. I had to flex. My other grandfather grew tomatoes in Camden and sold them to the Campbell Soup Company. I'm very concerned with the health of South Jersey. I recreate in our waterways constantly. I'm very concerned with the health of the Kirkwood Clancy Aquifer, which by some miracle is still considered one of the most pristine in our country, despite the colossal amount of Superfund sites in New Jersey. I agree that's worth protecting. I'm not adding anything that hasn't already been said. We'll try to wrap this up. I think you have a really great answer for everything. I think that if this plan made sense for our community, we would support it. We're here to hear you out. We listened to 6 hours. We didn't even get to talk 2 weeks ago. It doesn't make sense. You're telling me the health department sound reports haven't been read. That's embarrassing for you.
That's not what he said.
That's what your acoustical specialist stood there and said. He also said sound is hard to visualize. Sound is not hard to visualize. Do you think these people are stupid?
Yes.
Yes, you do. It's so apparent. You have the Bloom specialist giving us a really great pitch deck saying that it's a small amount of water, it's a small amount of water. What does a small amount of water mean to you? Say the amount. We're here to listen. Say the amount. She also said, this is a well-established company. We have all of these really high-profile clients, and the fuel cells are very impressive, comparatively very energy efficient. I mean, it's amazing. Someone thought of that, invented it. I think that's great. But there's a thing about that that is not forthcoming. It's not genuine. It's not giving the people informed consent. It's not giving the planning board informed consent, because then later on, only when pressed and questioned, she lets us know the next largest project by this well-established company. Everybody stay calm. We have so much, infrastructure in place to take care of this, and it's tested. The next largest one is about half the size, I think. A quarter the size? Thank you. And not only that, do you think it's in Texas? Is it in California? It's in Korea. They don't know how to take care of this thing. That's all I really have to say, but please, everyone just know, their acoustical specialist stood up there 2 weeks ago and said, they haven't read the reports. Oh, some of them might be a bird flapping by. They didn't take reports at 2 a.m., they didn't take reports at 4 a.m., they took them at 5 in the morning. We've been condescended to, talked down to. These people aren't stupid. And we also are here to learn. I'm here to learn. I sat through 6 hours. I learned a lot about LNG. Learned it's called LNG. There's a lot of contingencies in place. I understand the concern around that. I've also talked to some people in that field that say those contingencies are pretty fail-safe. I'm concerned about a lightning strike or a piece of space junk hitting the cryogenic storage of the island. Yes, I am. I'm concerned about all of that. But statistically, it's probably not going to happen. And I feel safe with that. I think we would all feel safe if we had all of the information and we were able to make an informed decision. So please, please, do not vote yes on this tonight. Please make an informed decision. You cannot make an informed decision when the reports have not even been read. Thank you.
Will you please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth this evening?
Yes.
Please state your full name and address for the record.
Linda Sullivan, 609 Wagner Court in Williamstown. I'm here because we have something very close in Monroe Township, so I've been following you guys, and you guys came to our council meetings and helped us out, so coming here. But I feel like you guys are guinea pigs. You've been changing, it's constantly being changed, Looked into the balloon fuel cells. The lawyer herself said the biggest, and I agree with what the woman just said, the biggest fuel cell building that they had built was like 80 megawatts. This was like 400. You're guinea pigs. They're using you. Everything's been changing. We're worried about the aquifer because it's close to the surface. It feeds all of South Jersey. Not only that, but cities have been sinking at 10 inches a year because of over-extracted water aquifers if they're mismanaged. All they're asking, and all I'm asking, because I'm part of that aquifer, is you have to watch the water. We're building South, New Jersey itself is so condensed with population, the populace. You need to watch everything. You guys are guinea pigs. I don't understand what's going on. You're gonna, 80 megawatts, she said, was the biggest building that they use these fuel cells. They have no idea how this is gonna work. Good luck, because I don't think it's gonna work.
Thank you for your comment. Thank you.
Oh,
I'm sorry. My apologies. I didn't know. I thought you were finished. If you're not finished, you can continue. My apologies. I thought you had finished.
I just had a quick point of clarification.
Ray, I'll give you a chance to.
Whatever, I just want to know that I just have that whenever you have an opportunity.
What's that?
Whatever the opportunity arises.
That's fine.
All right.
Seeing no one else from the audience, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I did have one last thing I'd like to say. I'm very
I did go by the site when the data book was proposed to our area, and I came down to look and see what all this was all about. And it's farmland and residential areas. And then when I'm finding about this LNG tank going up, 1.5 million gallons, what's the zoning for residential away from a 1.5 million LNG tank for residential property? What is it? And is it being, your zoning, what
I'm
is
not
it?
saying what you're asking. You're asking what the zoning is
For a residential property to be
Again,
next to a 1.5 million gallon LNG tank. If we can construct one.
This-
Can I construct one in my backyard?
No, this is in the industrial business zone. That's all they have to do is comply with the standards in the industrial business zone.
So we can have a property, somebody's property can be
Are you
right
in the
up against.
if it's in the industrial zone, they would apply for something that's allowed in the industrial zone. This is allowed in industrial, that's where industrial properties go, in the industrial zone. This is an industrial zone. And I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Second. And please raise your right hand.
Go ahead.
Kathleen Smith?
Hold on. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the
Yes,
truth?
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
As you're saying, this is an industrial area. Yes, you zoned it industrial, but all around it, within 200 feet, is agricultural
residential, and then we have school districts. So when you say this LPN is only on industrial land, will affect residential, commercial, agriculture. So I feel that that is being misled. This tank, I have someone who works within that industry, and they already told me it's very dangerous, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Casadia?
Yes.
Mr. Menz?
Yes.
Mr. Tobolski? Mr. Reel?
Yes.
Ms. Velez? Ms. Andrioli? Mr. Odorizzi?
Yes.
Dr. Arthur? Mr. Catalano?
Yes.
I'll be surprised if they don't vote on it.
I
If
bet
they
you,
do,
I
then
bet
we'll
you they're going to right now.
So, any other questions from staff, board members, any questions that you have, any comments that you'd like to make before we get to a vote on this application?
Nobody has a question.
I mean, everybody understands everything.
I'll give the opportunity to the applicant, counsel for the applicant, Mr. Wayne, and either Ms. Bellevue or Mr. Parks to give a closing statement. You want to go first? No. Go ahead, Mr. Wayne.
Thank you, members of the board. Long night again. I'll be quick. Again, my name is Ray Wendt with the Wendt Law Firm. I wanted to clarify something that occurred in exchange during public comment, and then I just have a couple of things to read from me from the Cox legal treatise. I attached as Exhibit 7 a side-by-side of the Hamilton Code and the Vineland Code. There was a suggestion made that maybe prior comments by a member of your professional team or yourselves regarding the Hamilton Code somehow created a conflict of interest for that individual. I disagree with that. I think it was a misstatement by the person who spoke as a part of public comment, and I don't think there is a conflict of interest because of that. So I just want to make that clear. That's not the reason why I have it attached. I have it attached because your code does say at 425-269, no building or structure shall hereinafter be erected, moved, structurally altered, rebuilt, or enlarged, except as provided herein, nor shall any land be used for any purpose other than those allowable in each zoning district as designated herein, i.e., any use not enumerated in the applicable zone as a permitted use shall be prohibited. That mirrors the Hamilton language. So I'm going to disagree with the opinion to the contrary you may have heard. It's not enumerated as a permitted use, it's prohibited. So that's that. I just wanted to reiterate your jurisdiction and ability to deny this application. With just some examples from the learned Cox treatise, we all have it. And here are some examples of where site plan has been upheld by the courts and being denied. If it appears that no adequate water supply existed for the particular tract, a site plan could be denied on that basis. 2, fire safety is a factor which must always be considered by a municipal agency. 3, it is well established that if a site plan lacks specificity required by the ordinance, or the applicant fails or refuses to provide information pertinent to the plan may be denied on that basis. That's the Morris County Fair House versus Boonton Township, 228 NJ Super 365. There, the court rejected the applicant's contention and says the Department of Environmental Protection had exclusive authority over the issue, determining what repairs or modifications to a dam could be made, that somehow the board didn't have discretion to deny the plan. In fact, the court said you do. It doesn't matter if the NJDEP has jurisdiction at the same time. That's that overlapping jurisdiction I mentioned when I mentioned the bulkhead scenario down the shore. Another example, it's proper to deny a site plan because of the difficulty of providing safe access to the site. Because providing safe means of access to property is specifically required by the municipal land use law, and because the difficulty is directly related to the ingress and egress. That's the case of Lionel's Appliance Center versus CETA, 156 NJ Super 257, 1978. Where the court held the planning board may deny a site plan application if the ingress and egress proposed by the plan creates an unsafe and inefficient vehicular traffic. Long story short is we definitely agree with the majority of the public comments. A lot of question marks. A lot of question marks. And that in and of itself gives you the power and really the obligation to say no tonight. I'm not going to belabor the point. Thank you very much.
Ms. Bellevue, Mr. Parks. Go ahead, Ms. Bellevue.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to take the time to thank you all for bearing with us over this last almost 12 hours of testimony and experts that you've heard. I'd like to thank this board for listening. I would like to thank the public for showing up and providing their point of view and for being patient with us as we put on expert and ask question after question. I'll also try to keep it brief. I just want to point out, like others have, there's a lot of questions left. Ms. Gardner, who I put up here, who was our last testimony from the SSJ side, she pointed out how she didn't trust Data One, she didn't trust this project, and there was a lot that was going to have to be done to win the public's trust. And I want you to think about that because I think a lot should be done to win your trust as the board. You've heard our questions directed at the different experts that Data One has put up. We've had questions about these fuel cells, about how they perform as a technology at this scale, about hazardous waste that they might create, about the disposal of that hazardous waste. We have questions about the CO2 emissions of these fuel cells technologies. We have questions about water, groundwater questions. We have groundwater molding questions. We have questions about how this plan was created and all the gaps in it. We have questions about even more than that. We have questions about the LNG tank. We had questions about all sorts of things. Every aspect of this application, the EIS was woefully vague. There were so many gaps left, emissions that we don't know about, and we just would like this board to think about that when you're voting tonight, because there's too much left unanswered for you to conscientiously vote yes. And so I just want you to think about that as you're doing your vote tonight, and thank you for your time.
Mr. Frelinger. Okay, Mr. Parks. I thought you and Ms. Bellevue were representing the same client. It's okay. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Thank you. I will be so very brief. I just want to point out the fact that there has been a plan that has gone before this board before. It has been approved. There have been stormwater issues. There's been a lawsuit that followed. It's been a problem for everyone. If it's the case that you can see that the stormwater plan isn't going to meet the state requirements, that is reason enough to vote no. Thank you.
Mr. Frelinger.
Thank you, Mr. Malinsky, and thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the board, staff, and thank you to everyone who's shown up the last couple of nights on this. As we all know, we're here seeking a preliminary and final major site plan approval. It's a second amended site plan approval. And the application that's before the board requires no variance relief in the IB zone, none. It requires very little waiver relief in the IB zone. Now, we spent a lot of time talking about different things. A lot of experts you've heard from, talk about different things. You've heard about an LNG tank, and it was just mentioned again. You've heard a lot of expert testimony on that. LNG tanks are permitted in this area. You heard about potential risks because of trucks with the LNG tanks. Well, I mean, gas trucks go to Wawa every day. They go to Riggins every day. There's a heck of a lot of them that go. I pass them every single day on Lincoln Avenue. So yeah, that happens in this one. The question is do you comply with the regulations that the government has put in place in order to make sure that it's safe? And with the LNG tank, those regulations basically are the NFPA 59A standards. And you heard ample testimony how the design was in accordance with NFPA 59A standards. And then there's a secondary review on top of that, let alone an independent, I say an independent review. It gets designed by the maker. It gets, the balance of plant gets designed by an engineer. And then another engineer is brought in to review all of that to make sure that it's compliant with NFPA 59A. And after that happens, it's got to get reviewed by the local fire marshal. And there were questions about whether or not, Vineland's fire department could handle, some type of an LNG fire if that were to happen. Well, yes, Vineland's fire department has been trained in LNG. Those discussions have been ongoing with Vineland for, I've been involved with them for probably 8 months or a year or so. So yes, they are trained in LNG. Not that because it's this hazardous use, but because it is a use that can be utilized in the city of Vineland. So they would have to be trained on it. So the testimony that you heard, is for the health, the welfare, the safety. You heard testimony, great deal of testimony with regard to water and water use. And we heard from some of the members of the public about, the concern with the aquifer. The testimony that you heard is, an average of 8 million gallons of water per year for the cooling system. Frankly, I've been involved in a lot of industrial projects. 8 million gallons of water is not a lot of water for an industrial project. And it is accurate when I stated that this project could drill a well and take up to 36 million gallons of water without a water allocation permit from the DEP. It's just a water use registration, and they'd be entitled to it, up to 36 million gallons. Now, do they want to do that? No. They want to give the money to the city of Vineland for the same water, and that's what they're going to do. So you heard about water. You heard about the LNG tank. Now let's talk a little bit about sound, because I understand. I really do. I understand the issue with sound. I don't live all that far from where this data center is. I'm probably 2 miles away from where this data center is. No, I don't hear it. And I listen for it, but I don't hear it. But I understand if people are dealing with construction that are going on. And the project is committed to sound mitigation. The project has to be in accordance with state law when it operates. It has to. It has to be in accordance with the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection regulations on sound. The expert that was here said that. He's done his modeling as to what's going to be required for the project to be in compliance in operation. And he also testified about what goes on during construction. And yeah, as construction going, I would love this thing to have been done 6 months ago. Because the construction is going to be louder than operation. It is going to happen. And I will say that the project is moving toward doing more for mitigation even at this point in time. Getting that sound wall up would go a long way. And that sound wall can be up, I believe, in October. And that will go a long way in helping a lot on the northerly and the westerly side, the easterly side of the property. There was discussion with regard to the LNG tank about being near residential zones. Well, it's not. I mean, the LNG tank is positioned on the property through a siting analysis that was done. It's next to another industrial user, and the only potentially adjacent use is also industrial zone lands. There's industrial zone lands on the opposite side of Lincoln Avenue. That's all industrial. There's industrial zone land right next to it, the Northeast Precast. It's all industrial. So there really is no, in any proximity to this LNG tank, any residential use. And that was part of the reason why it was cited, where it was cited. Now, Mr. Wendt in his closing brought up, again, the Hamilton ordinance, and he referenced 269 applicability. Now, again, this board's not being asked to make any determination on use. It's not the jurisdiction of this board. Use has already been decided back in 2024 with regard to this property. But when you take a look at 269, before you look at that, you got to take a look at 268 and in the purposes. And it's established in 268C, established for particular uses or classes of uses. And that's what indicates that the Vineland Code is a class-based code. There's classes of uses that are within it. And when you take a look at 269, when you read it, when it talks about utilizing the word enumerated, well, enumerated is the class. And then you have to actually go into the definitions of what a permitted use is and what a prohibited use is. And when you take a look at those definitions of what a permitted use and a prohibited use, it reads for class and categories, is what it's for. So that particular issue, again, it's an issue that, to me, has been decided. It was decided back in 2024. So the application that's before the board is a permitted use application. The balloon fuel cells, whether they are permitted principal use or an accessory use, it doesn't matter. They're permitted in the zone, whether it's a principal or an accessory use for it. We did get the review letters, and I believe we answered the questions in the review letters from Mr. Headley's office, as well as from the environmental consultants. We did that through testimony. So I believe we have answered all of the questions that the board's professionals had on this application. And with that, I will close and I will submit to the board.
Thank you, Mr. Frowninger. Before we move to a possible motion, just 2 quick comments from me. First of all, a couple thank yous to the public that's come out for both of these meetings. I want to thank you for being here, for being respectful of the process, for being respectful of the board members and the staff. Thank you for that. Secondly, to the staff, our staff. It seems like we've had 12 hours of meetings here, but the countless hours of the back work, the work that's had to be done on this application that our staff had to do is, we can't even measure it. All the information that we've gotten and the work that they've done, so publicly thank our staff for putting that together, and obviously the board members for your work. And again, our work was not just these 6 hours. It's been a lot of work that's been put in on an application of this size. The one other thing I'll mention, then I'll let Mr. Malinsky really comment on it, is we had a lot of discussion about whether Mr. Steck was right, Mr. Recamp was right, Perch was right about whether or not this should have been allowed in the zone. Bottom line, and I think Mr. Recamp said it, it was voted, it was approved to come to this board. And that's why we heard it the first time, that's why we're hearing now. So maybe, I'm sorry, Mike, I kind of took a little bit about what we were going to say, but.
Yeah, I just have a quick thing. First, thank you everyone for showing up. It shows that you really care about the community and how you love the city of Vineland. And again, what Dave said, I appreciate that. I am a little disappointed on the atmosphere that everyone feels that you try to have the wool pulled over you. Maybe we can do something better going in going forward with something like this. I don't have all the answers to that, but I think we need to figure this out to get the community involved and get the community informed. Also, Mr. Wentz, I believe, wanted to have Mr. Frailinger's acoustic expert continue studies and do some other tests. I suggest that the two gentlemen here make this happen and see if we can keep the studies going for a while and maybe even through past construction. That's my suggestion. Again, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I appreciate Mr. Frelinger pointing out the additional differences between the City of Vineland and Hamilton Code. Again, as I indicated earlier, Hamilton's code is different with regard to specifically stating this chapter is silent as to the allowance of a use in a zone district. Such silence shall be interpreted to mean that use is not permitted. It goes on to say, a use is not permitted in any zone district of the town unless specifically included as a use or category of use in this chapter and in the specific zone district. Now going to Vineland, as indicated by Mr. Frelinger, it says, nor shall any land use be used for any purpose other than those allowable in each zoning district as designated herein. On February 21st, 2024, Patrick Finley, your zoning officer, issued a letter saying, it is my opinion that the proposed data center use as described would be a permitted use within the IB zone. A zoning permit would be issued prior to the commencement of the use or construction of any structure. This was submitted with the applicant's first application to this board, indicating that this was a permitted use in his opinion. That application was heard on June 26, 2024, wherein the applicant received preliminary and final major site plan approval for a 2,647,628 square foot data center, which was memorialized in resolution number 6652 adopted on August 14, 2024. There was no appeal of that approval within 45 days of publication of that decision. Moreover, there was an amended resolution adopted on March 12, 2025, which corrected an issue with the original resolution. Again, there was no appeal of that amended resolution 45 days from the date it was published. Thereafter, on June 26, 2025, the applicant appeared before the board and received, a year later, received amended preliminary and final major site plan approval for a 3,129,726 square foot data center, which was memorialized in resolution number 6720 adopted on July 9, 2025. Again, there was no appeal within 45 days of the date of publication of that resolution. So no one has challenged the use or Mr. Finley's opinion of this being a permitted use within here, within our zoning code. And he has determined in his professional opinion that it is a permitted use. So with that being said, the use has already been decided in this matter based on not only Mr. Finley's letter, but his letter that was part of the initial application, which received approval and then was never appealed after the appeal period. And thereafter, a year later, during the subsequent approval, and there was no appeal of that approval within the appeal period. So now moving on, what do we have this evening? We have an application that, yes, requires waivers, but doesn't require any variances. In essence, it's a by right site plan application. So what does the court say with regard to a by right site plan application? Well, it said that the appellate division concluded that under the MLUL, planning board does not have the broad authority to consider a site plan application in light of the general welfare or the purposes of zoning under the MLUL or general principles of sound planning apart from the standards of applicable local zoning ordinances. It found that if the proposed site plan complies with local ordinances and the MLUL, then a planning board shall grant approval. It found that the MLUL, unlike the Planning Act, did not give the planning boards the general power to require that site plans not pose a danger to public health or safety. Again, I appreciate the citation by Mr. Wentz, the 1978 case, but that wasn't under the MLUL. So with that being said, you have an application before you this evening. There are no variances. You've heard testimony from both sides. If the board is so inclined, I'll make my motion, or the motion for the board to make, which would be, and all motions always made in the affirmative, so that a yes means you're approving the application, and no means that you're denying it. It would be a motion to approve the application of Data One USA LLC for second amended preliminary and final major site plan and waiver approval for the construction of a data center on lot 35.01 of block 7503, also known as 3963 South Lincoln Avenue, subject to the conditions set forth in the professional reports and the conditions set forth by this board on the record and as agreed to by the applicant.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Before the roll call, I'd ask the members, it's not required that you make comment as to why your vote is, but if you'd like to, this would be the time to do it. Roll call, please.
Mr. Casadia?
I would, along with the other board members, wish to thank all the residents who came out the last couple of evenings to voice their opinion and their concerns about the great city of Vineland. There's been considerable discussion about the similarities between a data center and an office building. I don't know of an office building that has 2,000 boom cells. I don't know of an office building that has a huge liquid natural gas tank, nor one that operates 24/7. This data center is one of the largest, if not the largest, facilities using boom cells in the state of New Jersey. The question that deserves to be answered is are these data centers a terrorist target? Are they going to bring harm to our community, harm to our country? A resident brought up earlier CO2. The Pannoni Associates was hired by Vineland, City of Vineland, to give an environmental report. Their report of 5 pages left more questions than answers. The Environmental Commission had many concerns that still go unaddressed. There are many areas of concern, environmentally and otherwise, that need to be answered. It's important not only for the families that live in the immediate area of Data One, but all the citizens of Vineland. We need a thorough investigation of all the unanswered questions before this project should move forward. My vote is no.
Mr. Knight?
Thank you, everyone. Just to also let you know, my other disappointment is the applications that need to go to the NJDEP haven't happened yet, so I wanted to state that as well. I also, the planning board did get a letter from the director of municipal utilities saying that they have the right to regulate the water that's going to the data center. This was a memo to the planning board dated August 14th. It is a very difficult situation when for the time I've been on this board, let's take cold storage out at Oak Road near Mill when the industrial meets residential. And this is the result where people have to get together and go through the facts. And the facts is, this is under the permitted use with no variances. So with a very, with a long thinking about it, my vote is yes.
Mr. Zabolski?
I do
would like to thank the public for coming out tonight, the last meeting. I hear, everybody saying a lot of questions. Mr. Vineland spent 6 hours the other night bringing professional witnesses out. Brought them out here again tonight, tried to answer everyone's questions. I had a lot of questions. I learned a lot just by listening to all the testimony. Everybody was complaining there wasn't going to be enough water, we didn't have water. The water department says we have plenty of water. I think plenty of water to give them. That 27 million gallons of water a year, is not a big deal for the city of Vineland Water Department. They have much, much bigger customers. And then everybody was complaining about the electric bills were going to go up. They said they're going to generate all their own electric. It's not going to put a burden on our electric utility at all. And it is a permissible use of the property. I have to, my vote will be yes.
Mr. Reel?
Again, thank you for everybody coming out, and I do appreciate all your concerns, but as a board, we have to approve what's in our guidelines, so yes.
Ms. Velez?
I too had many concerns, but I'm voting yes based on what's been presented to us. I have questions, and I'm sure Mr. Freilinger has listened to the public, our concerns with the children and school buses. At this point, I am going to vote yes.
Ms. Andrioli? Yes. Mr. Odorizzi?
First of all, thank you to the public. As we've already stated, it is a permitted use. We have had expert testimony. We will, as a city and a planning board, watch over this project. My vote is yes.
Dr. Arthur?
I think my point of reference or lived experience is a little bit different from everyone else here. I see this as a plus for the city of Vineland. I taught in the school system, and remembering the pandemic, I think that we need to move forward in addressing that a data center will be coming to Vineland, so I see it as a plus. Do we have all the answers? No. Is there opportunity to improve? Yes. So my vote is yes.
Mr. Catalano?
I have sat through literally hundreds of planning board meetings over my time on this board. And many times my personal and professional opinion differ on an application. But in this case, and actually, to be honest, my personal opinion doesn't matter. What I think, should be built in an area is not up to me. But in this case, where my personal and professional opinion are aligned is that as a city, we could have done much better with this. I agree with Dr. Arthur that this could be a positive for the city. It could be a positive for the city. But looking back through it, and I believe that the applicant has made reference to it, there were things that we could have done much better as a city. More public meetings, notices. We could have had, the maps were up to date online that came up. There were things that could have been different about this application that we could have done differently. I can tell you this, I remember the meeting that we had when Mr. Freilinger came in with this. We were talking about golf courses and possibly hotels or restaurants and other things, and I remember thinking, that's what I would want to be there. But it's not my decision as to what an owner of a property builds on their property. They changed. I'm sitting at the planning board looking at the documents that are in front of me. I can't tell someone who owns a piece of property what they can do with it. Would I have liked to have a golf course? Absolutely. The owner of the property decided that they were going in a different direction. I actually believe that you coming out to all those city council meetings, to the town halls, I think made a difference. What did it do? They changed the size. It went from 2 million square feet down to what it is now. They changed the fact that they're not taking basically any electric from our grid. They got their own power source. And by doing their own power source, they've effectively used all their property. They can't build more buildings because they basically used it all with the Bloom power. They listened to your questions about the emissions, and they went away from the Bergen generators because they heard you on doing that. And I think all of those things, I think they actually did listen to you.
34,000 people. Those kids that died, it's on your act.
I believe that what they came back with all the changes that they did make, I believe they did listen to you.
Shame.
And so my vote on this is yes.
Shame.
So the motion carries and that is approved.
Federal contracts for mass surveilling, you fucking asshole. Jesus Christ. Council out. And we vote it out.
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.